Hey, so I built a sync system for AI coding tools earlier this year, and 6 months in, it feels half of this is obsolete. So I wanted to talk about the problems I was solving and what's changed since then, and what features or capabilities got absorbed by tool providers, which is why part of this system is obsolete, and what I have learned in the process. So starting with the problem, so context loss between sessions was one of the issues that I was targeting. So I felt like memory system was pretty bad. You had to re-explain the project background between sessions and definitely between tools. Second was the multi-tool drift. So the configuration drift essentially. So if you were using three or four or more tools like me, then each coding tool would read from a different configuration file, different format, different conventions. So if I was to update my Python linter preference or my commit style, I have to remember to update that in five different places. So this multi-tool configuration drift problem, I think it's still not being solved by any tool provider because there's not enough incentive. Uh, they are probably busy focusing on their own tool, and rightfully so. So as I mentioned, you get if you were to use different tools for working on a project, you had to maintain different configuration files. So this NS Bootstrap is a decent example. Like I had Claude configuration there, client rules, Windsurf rules, and perhaps even agent.md. Just gonna check that, unless I got rid of that. Yes. Um, so if you X amount of tools, X amount of formats, basically is what you were working with at the time. So now the new mission for this, after the changes have been made by the tool providers, I'm now focusing on just basically one mission, which is making sure that the developer identity, you basically author it once and you can distribute it to every tool that you work with. It's not about memory management anymore, not about session capture. The tools are handling that well. So whether it's Cloud Code, Windsurf, Copilot, Kiro, they all ship with auto memory by default. Project stuff, this project is supposed to deal with the deliberate stuff. So where I have got my design axioms in place or tooling choices or conventions that I follow, I basically want to write them once and I want to consistently use them across different tools and across different projects. So in terms of the change, the reason for the change, I think roughly three reasons why when I started looking at the market. So one was that most tools have native auto memory. So whether it's Cloud Code, Windsurf, there are still a bunch of different tools. I think Cursor and Cline, this still requires manual setup, but I have not played with them in the last few months. Then second was that MCP joined the Linux Foundation in December as a founding project of the Agentic AI Foundation. So it's a it's a fairly vendor neutral standard, I would say. And there's still a lot of things that I think they need to work out. Third was that I had a bug in my own setup, embarrassingly, and I have been basically patching that the wrong way for months. And it's such a silly thing. So I'm just going to bring up in my shell to demonstrate what that was. Uh, so the CLAUDE.md file used to say read the context.md for machine specs as an example. That line actually does nothing. It's just plain English. Claude code does not execute it. So the right syntax is at and then the file path. The at sign is a directive. Cloud Code expands it at the session start. The plain read is just advisory at the best. So I knew that the file was not loading reliably. The fix I reached was basically adding a workaround in the project memory, telling Claude to read the file, and patching a broken instruction with another instruction. Now I want to talk about the new architecture. So this is the new shape. So one source of truth, one script, every tool gets the right format. I'm going to do a quick demo and see how it goes. Um, yeah, actually, I need to do a demo. Okay. So demo directory. So assume that this is the start of a new repo or an existing repo. And I'm going to initialize this. And I will basically fire the AI config. Before I fire that script, I'm just going to quickly show you the options. Pretty self-explanatory. If you're working with one or two tools, you can just use that. Or you can do all with dot. Once you do that, it will create a bunch of configuration files for each agent, each coding tool that you work with. Now, I will quickly show you an example of what it has created. So CLAUDE.md. This file is problematic because I have not updated the script on my own system. So I made the changes to the repo, but I have not done the migration on my own system yet. So when I do that, this file will be changed from read to at and then the path name. And once it happens, the benefit is that I won't have to maintain any global context in this Claude. It will always read the context.md file from my user's home directory. A little bit that I wanted to actually, I'll just quickly go through another example. Say if I do and on cursor rules, this is all the inline. So unlike Claude configuration, which you can expand and Claude can read that context from the global file, like for other tools, you have to pretty much make those changes inline. Now, before I conclude, I want to touch on a few other features. So one is this per project rule that you can specify. So you can create a .ai project.md directory within the context of your repo. And you can specify a bunch of rules there and you can run the script. And it will basically append that in line to instead of you having to modify each of those tooling scripts if you're using multiple tools like me. The other file I wanted to quickly show was hooks.md. So hooks are, again, most underrated, underutilized features in Cloud Code. So I see CLAUDE.md instructions as advisory. It may or may not follow. Hook would run every time regardless. So if you find you're kind of correcting Claude for the same thing more than twice, then you may need to look at writing a hook. So there are three examples here. You've got Python linting, duplicate code prevention, and then TypeScript checker. Now to conclude, 6 months back, I was solving two different problems, session handover and multi-tool configuration drift problem. And in 6 months, tooling providers have made massive changes when it comes to session memory management. And as a result, I don't have to worry about that problem anymore. And so the focus of this is still making sure that I don't have to hand edit six different configuration files when I have to make a preference change or have to specify a new instruction. I would love to hear how you are solving that problem. Thank you and goodbye.